The Danish ambassador to Ghana, Tove Dengmo, has expressed worry at the slow pace of work by the special prosecutor. She says the excuse of resource mobilization for the office should not delay the execution of its mandate, especially at a time when allegations of corruption are rampant. She was speaking exclusively with Joy News on the sidelines of an event by the Ghana Integrity Initiative to launch its Interfaith Anti-Corruption Project. Ambassador Dengmo said the fight against corruption would not yield the required results if the office mandated to check the canker is stalling.
We think that the newly established Office of the Special Prosecutor holds a very important potential in really making a difference to anti-corruption in Ghana. We think maybe that the process is moving a bit slow. It's a while ago that the Special Prosecutor was nominated, and we know that he's still waiting for resources for his office. We hope that they will soon be coming, because there's an important work to do. It is actually worrying a little bit. We would definitely like to see this moving much faster. We know that there are probably reasons for it, but it would be important for the general public to see some significant steps being taken very soon. There are a lot of good initiatives in Ghana. Lots of organizations, lots of individuals are taking good initiatives, but it is also a very tall order to completely eradicate corruption in the Ghanaian society. So there is a need for all hands on deck.
Meanwhile, Deputy Commissioner of Shraj, Richard Kwesing, says it is unpardonable for a country which has over 90% of its citizens belonging to various religious organizations to be saddled with the attending effects of corruption. He was speaking at the launch of the Ghana Integrity Initiative Interfaith Anti-Corruption Project. Charity Emihilba tells this report.
The Deputy Commissioner of Shraj, Richard Kwesing, and his keynote address disclosed it is worrying for a nation that has over 90% of its citizens professing to be Christians, Muslims, or traditionalists to be engulfed in corruption, despite teachings against the act in all those religions.
For a people that is notoriously religious, you wonder how come we are so hospitable to corruption. The very thing our faith consider as abomination. As long as the people of Ghana accept corruption and indiscipline as a way of life, it will be next to impossible to make any serious inroads in the fight against corruption.
Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Linda Ofori-Kwafo, believes involving religious leaders in the fight against corruption will create deeper awareness of the menace.
Most Ghanaians, if I cannot say over 90% of Ghanaians, either find ourselves in church on Sunday or in the mosque on Friday. These same category of people are the ones that work in the public sector and the private sector. So then why don't we use these religious bodies who are seen as influential to reach their own congregants?
Some of the interfaith anti-corruption ambassadors are optimistic executing their role will help in the fight against corruption.
By the very nature of my calling as a Christian leader, the Bible abhors corruption and all its ramifications. So it's as a matter of duty. So if I'm asked to act as an ambassador, I think it's a call in the right direction.
It behoves me and my community to sit up and work out plans that will help all of us to boldly come out and frown at it.
The Interfaith Anti-Corruption Project on the theme, Speak Up, Resist and Report Corruption, is the first phase of the GII's nationwide campaign against corruption, with focus on Greater Accra, Volta, Ashanti, Western and Northern regions, and with support from Danida. Charity Emihilba tells reports for Joy News.
The Interior Ministry has begun a monitoring exercise of all ongoing and stalled projects of the police service and other agencies under it. Speaking at the 2018 Media Performance Review of the Ministry, Deputy Minister for the Interior, Henry Korte, said the monitoring team has identified many stalled projects in the Greater Accra and Eastern regions. The Ghana Police Service has therefore initiated a process to secure funding for the completion of such projects. Efwa Evans Chineri's report.
Deputy Minister for the Interior outlined some achievements made by the agencies from January to June 2018. He mentioned that financial clearance was obtained from the Ministry of Finance to enable agencies, namely the Ghana Police Service, the Immigration Service and the Ghana National Fire Service, recruit to augment their current numbers to meet international standards. He also says a team of police personnel have been deployed to peacekeeping duties in Sudan in the period under review. He however stressed that investigations in respect of the 8 suspects in the southern Sudan matter is ongoing. The ministry, he added, expect a report of resultant action on all personnel found guilty in the matter.
The ministry has begun a monitoring exercise of all the ongoing and stalled projects of the agencies. The monitoring team has identified many stalled projects in the Greater Accra and Eastern regions, and based on the recommendations of the monitoring team, the Ghana Police Service has initiated a process to securing funding for the completion of all ongoing and stalled projects in the Greater Accra region. Financial clearance was obtained from the Ministry of Finance to enable agencies, namely the Ghana Police Service, Ghana Immigration Service, Ghana Prison Service, and the Ghana Fire Service, recruits to augment their current numbers to meet international best standards. Despite recent setbacks, the Ghana Police Service continues to make strides in the international scene. A team of police personnel have been deployed to peacekeeping duties in Sudan in the period under review. However, investigations in respect of the 8 suspects in the Sudan matter is ongoing. The ministry would expect a report of resultant action on all personnel found guilty in this matter.
Mr. Quartey says government will continue to retool the security agencies to enable them perform their respective mandates.
Government under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo continues to retool the security agencies to enable them perform their respective mandates. i.e., example, hydraulic platforms are being procured for the Ghana National Fire Service. Provisions has been made to procure arms and construct armory for the Ghana Immigration Service. Operational items and also accoutrements are being procured for the security agencies.
We're taking a break here on Joy News Prime Up. Next, we bring you business news with Emmanuel Abajuyafi. Stay tuned.
Good evening to you and welcome to business. Now, banking consultant Nana Utue Champon says there's nothing wrong with government's plan to support local banks struggling to recapitalize. Government had earlier announced its intention to extend financial support to local banks that cannot meet the minimum capital requirement should they fail to secure capital from the open market. This has, however, been criticized by some industry players who think that this support could have been extended to the 5 collapsed banks as well. But Nana Utue Champon thinks otherwise.
That has always been on the books, that if you are found to be solvent, because now they've solved those who are not solvent by putting them together into one vehicle called Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. So the rest, which are solvent but cannot meet, they are still prepared through the government to bring in funds to merge them. Leaving you on your own with, if you've got like 60 million, which is the capital that some of the old banks have, that's those which were formed before 2014. The minimum capital was and still is 60 million. So if you've got 60 and you're looking for 340, it's a tall order. So the suggestion would be try and merge with 1 or 2. Then whatever shortfall there is, we will meet you there. And those funds are available. Because if you look at these 5 that have been merged, the government brought in as much as 5.7 billion Ghana cedis. So the money is there.
When we talk about and raise issues that one of the reasons why this minimum cap was brought was to try and reduce the number of banks and also try and force some measures as well. If the government is coming again to support, doesn't it defeat the whole argument of this 400 million capital requirement that everybody should strive and meet, and if you cannot meet, get out of the market? Because I now know that, government after all is there to help me.
Not at all. The two scenarios are different. Presently, you are there on your own, and if you cannot meet the 400, what they're asking is join with one or two, so that you can become strong. If you join and there's a shortfall, 50 million, 100 million, they said we will help you because you have now become stronger. And that will not be free money anyway. It will be a loan that you'll repay. It's the same thing.
Is that what you are aware, that it will be a loan or be free money?
No, it won't be free money. No, there's nothing like a free lunch. It will be a loan. The same thing happened in the UK during the banking crisis. Almost all the banks, except Barclays, had to be rescued by the government. And now most of them have paid back the money. So it won't be a free money.
Perhaps the most challenging business concept proposed in the Cosmos Innovation Center Agritech Challenge is one on agriculture financing presented by Quidex. The team has received some very critical feedback from the ideation team judging various agribusiness pitches from participants. But members of Quidex are not discouraged by the critical reviews. Quidex is our focus on this episode of KIC Profile.
It's past midday and Prince, Theophilus and Sairam are meeting here at the airport residential area in Accra to discuss progress they have made so far regarding their agribusiness concept. They want to help raise funds for smallholder farmers who are unable to access credits from banks.
We realize that the main problem of agricultural finance is that the risks are too large. So if I have a farm, I have a 1 acre farm, it will cost me 2,000 cedis to maintain the farm throughout the whole farming season. If I go to a bank might shy away from giving me that because I don't have money. Like the risk of me failing is very big. So the solution we're bringing on board is disaggregating the risk. So how we do this is through the process of crowdfunding. So if I'm a farmer, I need 2,000 cedis. Instead of going to a bank where they would give me the 2,000 cedis, I can go to 10 people, 20 people to give me 10 cedis each.
There is so much to do in the next 2 months before they present the idea to judges for the last time.
It will have to be what essentially we're doing so that...
And one major task they are required to perform is to test the service they are offering to potential clients.
What we are going to do is to test our MVPs, or our minimum viable products, like you said. And the way we are going to do it is through explainer videos. So we have a short video that will explain what it is we actually want to do.
Then the rest is marketing, getting people to put their money in, chipping as little as they can, and then we work with the farmers on the back end. So by the time the third pitch is ready, a whole farming season won't be over, so people might not get their proceeds, but then we would have had a complete project funded with the people who funded getting regular updates on their mobile apps on what exactly is going on in the farm. Every single time there's an update.
Our product affects everybody here.
The previous 2 pitches were not easy for the group, as judges sought to expose flaws in the business idea, which is primarily based on crowdfunding.
I won't waste my time doing this. What for?
But the gentlemen say the feedback they have received has been valuable, enabling them to improve and fine-tune their business concept, which they hope to transform into an agritech startup.
I don't think anybody on this team has ever seen feedback from the panel as very harsh. They may come in a certain tone, but we take them constructively. The reason being that the issue of financing is something that is very close to all of us. We all encounter financial organizations every time, and the concern has been, how do you get to do this right? It's not just about the magnitude of the problem you're trying to solve or how you want to solve the problem, but how you can do it very well.
The decision to pursue a financial enterprise came easy for this team. It all begins with money, they say. The Quidex team is convinced that resolving funding issues in agriculture is key to solving many of the other challenges in the sector.
If you solve the finance problem in agriculture, you are solving the root cause of it. When you solve finance, irrigation will be solved, and storage will be solved, transportation will be solved. we all had financing in our minds, okay? Just that we had different ways of looking at it. So what we did was that we decided to just spell everything out and then pick the good points from each person's presentation and then merge it.
For this team, the bonding is real as they understand one another pretty well.
I met Prince during the interview. We all come, as different people from different places. And while we were in the waiting room, I think everybody would like the opportunity to share their ideas, or let me say, show off. Everybody wants to say something. I think while I listened to Prince, I realized he's got some very unconventional ideas, and he wanted to tackle the issues head on.
I remember we used to sit in the bus, observe people, and say, this guy could be good. And then the person does something, we're like, nah, okay, nah, like, nah. Like, people, yeah, because we would always look out for people who would give orders, unwarranted orders to people. We're like, nah, we don't want this kind of a person. We just want a group of like-minded people who can give orders to each other and bond as well. Okay,
so I think we're a group of people who really understand ourselves. It sounds quite awkward, but there's never been a moment of taking anger.
There's never been any moment of anger. Yeah, it's just I like to criticize Serum too much because Serum is a focused guy. He knows what he wants to do, but Serum is never focused if you spoke to him. If you watched his actions, you will realize he is one of the most efficient people. But if you spoke to him, you would think, this guy is not serious. He's always speaking in a very funny way. So I always say, I'll let him. No, don't talk like that.
Now, government will be partly blamed for the failure of some landlords to comply with part of the Rent Act, which prohibits the payment of more than 6 months' rent advance. That's according to Executive Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, Sammy Amegaibo. He said stakeholders are ready to support government to reverse the situation despite the challenges encountered. There's more in this report.
According to Minister for Works and Housing, Samuel Atachia, government is working on reviewing the current Rent Act to ensure that citizens are not overburdened with 24 months rent advance. The Rent Control Department, in conjunction with the ministry, are in the process of finalizing the formation of the Rent Task Force to ensure landlords comply with the rent laws. The new measure also seeks to put an end to landlords and property developers charging in foreign currencies. Responding to the new arrangement, Executive Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, Sammy Amegaibo, wants the minister to start with occupants in government facilities.
The system itself is what is making it difficult for us to achieve those targets. We have our laws that says that you cannot, take rent for more than 6 months. But even the government himself, who is supposed to be supervising that these laws are fully obeyed, government himself is paying 2 years rent for buildings that they are using for offices for some of their agencies. I'm in the renting business, so I know what I'm talking about. I have rented properties to government agencies, and they paid the same 2 years rent advance and all.
So you think they are causing it?
Yes. Well, no. The system itself is all. You see, there's a demand and supply situation. What have we done as a nation to drive the agenda of providing houses? There's nothing. So people have taken it upon themselves to try and put out houses. So they are dictating the pace because there's so much demand.
He, however, justified high cost of rent in the country.
States have taken up the cost of infrastructure when it comes to affordable housing projects to the point where if they cannot even make their money available to the developer from the beginning, it is converted into a loan in which government pays back the developer. So finance the whole housing estate, the project, pay or provide the basic infrastructure, water, electricity, and the cost of that is converted into a loan in which the government reimburses you. Over here, it's not like that. All the estate developers are funding all this by themselves, and that's why everybody's crying that the cost of houses are higher.
Government has begun a project to provide affordable housing for middle and low-income earners.
That's all in business tonight. Many thanks for watching. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Have a good evening.
The presiding member of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has accused members of parliament in the metropolis of diverting common fund money into election campaigning. The assembly is set to probe the alleged misappropriation. Kwesi Deborah has more.
The money, according to him, ends up in their personal accounts for political campaign at the expense of the welfare of the constituents. Mr. Bwedi says voters in the Ashanti region are the worst victims of such misapplication of funds, while DCs look on due to political affiliation. At a seminar on floods in Kumasi, he singled out Minority Leader Osechi Mensah Bonsu and the mentioned North MP Collins Owusu-Amankwa for praise.
So that we are giving to them for this development, they should come to their areas and tell us, this is the project, this is the project, this is the project, before we can believe. Either than that, it's unnecessary for us to give it to them. But the problem is, some of them are using it in a very good way. And that one too, I've given you another example, somebody like Osechi Mensah. For the 12 years, getting to 12 years that I've been as an assembly member, he always utilized it through his assembly members, and I'm aware. So even to scrap it in a way, you have to consider. But we have to check them, check the MPs. They are not using it. This is not about political. Even if it is about political, it should be a social politics, not a partisan politics. Because we have to build the next generation, not to have interest in the next election. Either than that, it will help the city. If we can achieve this, per the presentation that they are giving, because if you tell me I should go and do this in my area, I don't have fun. I only have sitting allowance. And it may be about 3 months, we may not go to meetings. So where am I going to get this money? But for the MPs, whether you go to parliament or not, there is a fund for him. So we should force them to use it. Everybody is afraid of the MPs, even the auditors. Because if you say it, they can call you. But how many times have we queried the MPs that we gave you this fund for this number of years? What did you use it for?
Kwame University of Science and Technology Center for Settlement Studies organized the event. Head of the Center for Settlement Studies, Professor Divine Haji, advised assembly members to liaise with chiefs to educate people on the menace. He also suggests assembly members be given some funds to carry through the agenda.
Well, if we say money, not money per se, that money to them, but if there is a fund somewhere that can help assemblymen, because actually from the study that we did, the community is actually relying on the assemblymen. They mentioned them as one of the key actors, and given the fact that they are the front row of development in the communities, it would be good that at least they have some support, and that is why we think that if the funding is created for them, fine. But we also think that the assemblymen can also be forward-looking by inviting the MPs and sit down with them and have a discussion with them on the issues going on related to flooding. Yeah. Thank you.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, Joy News is learning that President Nana Akufo-Addo is set to announce his first ministerial reshuffle, but is likely to maintain the number of appointees at 110. Now, the object of the reshuffle may be to inject freshness into the administration, with the president shifting his men and women around with very little or very few casualties. However, My Joy Online has learned Women and Children's Affairs Minister Atiku Afisa-Jaba is likely to be one of the few casualties in the reshuffle that may come as a surprise to some. She may not be the only person out without a job. Sanitation Minister Kofi Adda may also be on his way out. All right, so you can get to read a lot more about this impending reshuffle on My Joy Online. We have those details there. But of course, once it breaks or once it becomes official, we're going to be sharing the news itself with you. I'm sure it's going to come in the form of a release. So do stand by and do stay tuned to Joy News. We will be bringing you that imminent reshuffle once it becomes available. That's it for the bulletin. My name is Israel Live. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.